Well, we've got some pretty sharp uniforms out here in the audience, and that's going to be our next topic here. So, oh, all right. Is there a representative out of Redwood Falls for the Convention Corporation in the audience? Nobody here? Sorry. So at this time, I'd like to call on our National Security Foreign Relations Military Achievement Award presentation by Chairman Jim Keller.
Good morning.
Good morning, Minnesota. Good morning. How about a 5-minute shake it out, as Don Pancake will always do. We'll give you 5 when we bring our recipients up here on the stage. So let's take 5 and shake it out.
I don't know, I'm not shaking anything. Yeah.
What are we going to do? Sorry, I missed the meeting yesterday. But I heard your speech.
I got it.
I know. Yeah, I know. I got a seat back there.
I never got one.
Now let's be seated so we can commence with our program.
I got Tyler and told her she'd everything. And then I thought, you know what, I don't want to.
Please take a seat.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Once again, good morning. Good morning. Commander, this is your fall conference. Your chance to shine, and you're doing one fantastic job so far. Today's an exciting day for our committee. We have the honor today of recognizing some of Minnesota's finest. Our soldiers who not only serve our military, but they serve within our communities. We have the privilege this year of recognizing 8 of these individuals from across all the branches here in the Department of Minnesota. Our good friend here visiting from our leading candidate from the Carolinas, welcome, and I hope you enjoy our program today. We don't have active military stations in Minnesota, but we have armories. These people represent the branches of service in our army serving here in the state of Minnesota. So I hope you enjoy our program. We initiated this many years ago. Senate resolution and national, now national, includes Guard and Reservists in the recognition on an annual basis. So we're very happy the program took hold nationally. These people represent over 55% of our standing military today. A lot of us spent a year of separation from our families. These people have done it many times over. So we remember our year, and they're enduring that at this point in time. So always remember them. Keep them in your prayers. Kurt Nornberg will be giving the greetings on the individuals as they're presented their awards today, and I'm excited. We have all 8 here. We had many nominations this year. Our committee spent several hours making these selections, so these are our choices. We feel they're the best of the best. So Kurt, with that, we'll let you start in and tell us about these services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought you never asked, but anyway. It is a good time for our committee to recognize the people that serve in our Reserve Guard positions. And I think when you hear what they have done, we'd be here for about 4 hours if we read everything that they did. But I'll be giving a little summary of it. And when we get that done, Commander and Jim, you guys are going to be over there handing out some awards, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the commander's duty. Anyway, welcome to this group. We have 8 recipients. There are 2 that will not be here because of conflicts and active duty, really. So we'll go down the list, and I didn't make any preference to any structure of which service is first. I took the ones that came in as their applications came in. So leading off is the Army National Guard. And that first one is Staff Sergeant Adam Walker. And he is stationed with the 136th unit in Detroit Lakes. He resides over the neighboring town of Frazee. His post of Post 21 at Moorhead was a sponsor. His assigned duties, he's a logistics NCO, supply sergeant, responsible for supply requests and storage, and all the other things that a supply sergeant does. I know my supply sergeant, I wouldn't tell you what he does sometimes, but anyway. His military schooling is a Youth Prevention Leaders course leader, a supply manager course, unit training, signal equipment, and several others that they're required to do to finish their job. Awards and ceremonies, you can probably see where he served. Awards included the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with a star, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal with 3 awards, Gold Award on Terrorism, and plus about 8 or 10 other awards. And you'll probably see him on his chest when he comes up here. His civilian education, he's a high school graduate of Frazee. He's a Minnesota State Fire Academy graduate out of Central States College in Brainerd. He's kind of an active guy on the home front. He's active in the Frazee Fire Department. He's a youth trap shooter coach. By the way, what's the fastest growing high school sport in Minnesota? There's trap shooting up there in Alex, and they bring in about 2,000 to 3,000 kids. You ever hear anybody getting killed up there? Anybody getting hurt? They all had a gun. And I don't think if they brought the gun to school, they'd probably be arrested and whatever. I look at our past commander here, he probably carried the 22 in the back of his pickup when he was going to school. Now, I won't tell you on that. Anyway, his commanding officer wrote that Staff Sergeant Walker stands out as a leader in our unit and in his community. His NCO colleagues stated that he has the ability to compete. Congratulations to Staff Sergeant Adam Walker, who represents the Minnesota Army National Guard on outstanding soldiers for the last 17 years. Adam, would you come up here, please? We would like to have you give a couple of words. You might have some people that you want to thank. And if this thing falls over, yours cut off.
Thank you to the American Legion Post 21 for your nomination and selection as your outstanding National Guard enlisted person of the year. I am truly honored to receive this award from such an organization and its members. Thanks to my family, my wife Crystal, my daughter Taylor, my mom and dad, Alpha Company 136, the entire 2nd and 136 Bearcat Battalion for their continued support. Special thanks to my wife and daughter. Without your support, I would not be here today. It's not easy being in a family with a soldier. All the missed birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, and family gatherings are always tough. But we've always managed to stay strong, and I'm utter strong and loving family. And for that, I always be grateful for the 2 of you. The sense of volunteerism is strong in today's soldier. We are an all-volunteer military. Webster's Dictionary defines volunteer as a person who exceeds and a willingness to undertake a service. The very idea of giving oneself for the benefit of others has strong origins in America and the United States Armed Forces. Whether you served in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, or the Marines, the cultural beliefs and practices encourage collective responsibility and solidarity throughout our great nation. These ideas are fundamental to expressing an individual's humanity through their relations with others, and they are the very essence of what it means to volunteer. Being a volunteer means that you are offering something that is not required nor an obligation. You do not volunteer for the pursuit of monetary prize or recognition, but rather you see that your time and effort are worth it. You believe that you are capable of inciting change and making a difference, both at home and abroad. Social responsibility is often the driving force when it comes to volunteerism. Empathy and awareness simply come along with it. Medal of Honor winner General James H. Doolittle once said, "There is nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer." Thanks again to the American Legion Post 21 on your nomination and honor.
Two distinguished looking people over there,
All right.
they're gonna give you something,
All right.
a whole bunch of things, because, you know, this is the 100th year, and there'll never be another 100th year award that you're gonna win in American Legion. Congratulations. Anyway, well, he's getting his awards. There'll be a plaque and there'll be some other things, and note of thanks in the bag that many of you got that went to the National Convention. So they're getting a special treatment today. Going on, we honor 2 Army National Guard personnel, because when you look at the numbers in each of the services, there are about 11,000 in the Army National Guard. There are about 9 to 1,200 in the Air Guard, about 4,000 to 5,000 in the Army Reserve, and about 500 to 900 in the Navy and Marine Corps, and less than that, probably 60 or 70 in the Coast Guard. So that's why we're giving 2 of them for the National Guard. Our National Guard recipient this year is Sergeant Tyler Sparks. I noticed here that some of his friends call him Sparky. I can't see why they do that, but anyway, submitted by Post 577 in St. Paul. His unit is the Army National Guard unit in St. Cloud, and he resides in Sauk Rapids. His assigned duties, he's presently the Recruiting and Retention NCO at St. Cloud, and he's been very successful as a recruiter in the St. Cloud area, and that's the reason he isn't here today. He had a group of people that he committed to meet with this morning. His military schooling, he's a basic medical health care specialist, a combat trauma training recipient, a combat lifesaver, the combat training infantry. He's also a sniper. Kind of a good guy to be with if you're in battle. He's had 17 awards, which I'm not going to read, but you can. He also got a medal for the global war on terrorism, and you know where that is. It's in the sandpit, and the Iraq campaign medal. And this one kind of got me. He got a German Award Forces badge for military proficiency, gold award. And that's a long story, and next time you see Sergeant Sparks, you can tell him it wasn't quite an official military award, I think. Civilian education, he graduated from high school in Rochester, Minnesota. He took the course of medical technician in St. Cloud Tech, and he has a Fire 1 and 2 certificate. Community involvement, Sergeant Sparks lives and works in the area he recruits in. The general character he shows students, teachers, community members, unit members, and those who are his future students make him a successful recruiter, as testified by his fellow workers. We congratulate Sergeant Tyler Sparks for his exemplary service and represents the Military Army National Guard as a can-do soldier. He is in his absence. His nominator was from 4th District, and the chairman of National Security from the 4th District is Jim Anderson. So Jim, would you come up and in his absence receive the award? Now, you don't have to tell us 45 minutes what you do, but that's all right, you're still a volunteer.
On behalf of Sergeant Sparks, thank you for this honor.
Will you go over there and pick up the mic? Next on our list is the Air Force National Guard. Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Fenton is a recipient, and he's in the 133rd AW Operations Section in Air National Guard, and that's in St. Paul. The Post 99 in Minneapolis was his sponsor, and I think his recruiter here is the President District Commander Joe Bear. He resides in Plainview, Minnesota. His assigned duties is operations and groups headquarters as a staff's first sergeant. He's had 19 years of experience and uses that, including 3 years of active duty, to make recommendations to the squadron and group leadership how best to utilize his people. And he's been quite a master at doing that.
Good idea.
Now, I mentioned that he's Air Force National Guard. Some of his schooling is Field Artillery Service Course in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. That doesn't sound like much Air Force down there. But you notice it said survey. He's a platoon leadership development course in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. He attended material management technical training in Lackland Air Force Base. He's an Airman Leadership Course recipient, and he's U.S. Air Force National NCO Academy, First Sergeant Academy, Senior NCO Academy, Associate Degree in Logistics from the College of Air Force. So he switched out of that green uniform, got into blue. I guess that's the way it works. He finally found the right course of action. No. Anyway, his awards are quite numerous also. A couple of them are, he's had the Army and Air Force Accommodation Awards, so he's not preference to either one, apparently. Armed Force Expeditionary Medal, Global War and Terrorism, and Air Force Expeditionary Service Ribbon. Education, he went to high school, that's interesting, in Castle Manorville. He's associate degree of Rochester Technical College in surveying. He's a survey crew chief of Olmsted County, Rochester. He surveys for bridges, road construction, monuments, and provides data for construction. We need a lot of that construction. I think we'll talk about that in the legislature. I don't know about your roads, but some of them have potholes around where I live. But anyway, he doesn't come up our way. Community development, he's the youth basketball and baseball coach, and he's a confirmation teacher in his church. His command chief wrote about him, Sergeant Fenton is a shining example of our young airmen as well as our senior leaders of how we want to be for our U.S. service personnel to represent our country. We congratulate the Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Fenton, representing the U.S. Air Force National Guard, for an outstanding career. Sergeant Fenton.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, good morning. Thank Joe and Post 99 for the nomination. I'd also like to thank Chief Berg from the 133rd for writing those kind words. It's when you've been in the service as long as I have, which is probably it's closer to 24 years than it is 19. There's a bit of difference there with my Army time, but you accrue a lot of things, and you do a lot of things, and you visit a lot of places. And I couldn't do that without the support of the Air National Guard, the American Legion, veterans like yourselves, also my wife and my family. My kids obviously are at school this morning, so they couldn't be here, but my wife is here. So thank you, Tina, for doing everything that you do to allow me to do what I have to do when the nation calls. So, and I also want to thank each and every one of you for all of your duty and your patriotism to this country. When you retire and when you leave the service, you found the need to fulfill that duty and that honor to your country, and I appreciate everything that you guys do for us that are in the service now serving. So thank you, everyone, and I appreciate this wonderful honor. Thank you.
What do you think? We got some good volunteers running through here? Our next recipient, the Marine Corps Reserve, Lance Corporal Colin Dahlquist. He's with the 4th Law Enforcement Battalion in Fort Snelling, and Post 548, U of M post, that just happened to be my post, is honored to nominate him for this order. He lives in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. He's assigned duties. He's a Battalion S2 Intelligence Chief. Now I noticed that Lance Corporal is an Intelligence Chief of a battalion. He is the Intelligence Chief. He's a little below his pay grade, but he's handling that job as normally taken by a senior captain or a major. His assigned duties is the Intelligence Chief. He runs the Intelligence Oversight Program, normally managed by a commissioned officer. It surprised the incoming Master's Gunnery Sergeant and was impressed that he was extremely competent and diligent with initiative, far-reaching that which could be expected of his rank and the experience. He has completed the Marine Air Guard Air Ground Task Force Intelligence School in Virginia, and he's been a student at the university. Recognition, he has provided all of the required intelligence in support of a battalion that is in 9 different sites across the United States. He has also provided intelligence support in overseas exercises in Jordan and Africa, as well as support to Marines who are awaiting activation to go overseas. He's a graduate from St. Francis High School, also Anoka Ramsey County College. Anoka is kind of familiar with something about our department commander was Anoka. Anyway, they nominated him for something too a couple of years ago. Anyway, he's attending the Hammond University, and he's employed by Rice Associates in Brooklyn Park. His community service, he's a co-leader of snowboarding training at Wild Mountain, Mateo Falls. Now, some of you might be interested in this. He also coaches the pole vault team at St. Francis High School as a volunteer, and he's a member of the National Association of School Board Instructors. Congratulations to Lance Corporal Bradley Dahlquist in representing the Marine Corps Reserve in outstanding manner through work and performance that is above and beyond that expected of a person his age and years of experience. So we congratulate their nominee, Lieutenant Lance Corporal Dahlquist.
Thank you all. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here today. Want to thank my family and my command for putting me up for this award and supporting me through my military endeavors. I'm very humbled by the opportunity to stand before you guys today, as there's many other people who do the dual roles of being in the reserve component of the military. Congratulations to all the other winners, and again, thank you very much.
And they have some hardware over there. I think they're waiting over here to bring it up to you. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Now, some of you probably looked in his shape and size and youth 40 years ago too, huh? Anyway, he's representing, as all of them are representing their service. It's tough to talk about who is the outstanding person in any unit. He happens to be coming from a battalion, and they chose him as up-and-coming young man, and we're proud to honor him for such. Our next recipient is for the Navy Reserve, and Yeoman First Class Jessica Burbach, the Navy Operations Center in Minneapolis, is sponsored by Post 548 U of M, and she lives in Lakeville, Minnesota, not far from Fort Snelling. Her assigned duties, she's had 16 years of active duty. She's a Command Services Department head. She's a leading petty officer in the medical department. She supervises the sexual assault advocate. She's a legal officer, assistant for security management and equal opportunity, and several other kinds of titles that were tacked on to her. Her military schooling, she's been stationed at 9 different training posts and centers, attended 10 specialized courses such as warfare specialist, helicopter mine countermeasures, domestic violence, sexual assault, equal opportunities, and so forth. A few of her 22 awards and citations are the Marine and Navy Accommodation Medal and Achievement Medal, Global War and Terrorism, Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. She has an Associate Arts degree in Business Administration and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology, both from St. Leo University of Florida. She's a community involvement. She is the Central Minnesota Assault Center's Victim Associate Director. In a letter from Lieutenant Commander, I guess he's her boss at times. It is not that often that I have the opportunity to write a letter of recommendation for such a qualified candidate. She deserves this award. Through difficult toil and allegiance to the Navy's core of honor, courage, and commitment. We congratulate Petty Officer Jesse Burbach, representing the Navy Reserve in a distinguished manner and certainly deserving of this award. Jessica?
I'm honored and humbled to be in the presence of everybody in this room. So thank you for allowing me to accept this award. It took me a few days to think about what I was going to say up here up until yesterday. I was up for a Sailor of the Year board at my command, and one of the questions they asked me was, why do you deserve to be Sailor of the Year? And my answer was, I don't. The people who work alongside me do. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to be who I am and lead and do the job that I do. So the people who work alongside me allow me to be who I am. And not only that, but the people at home. My daughter, who is my biggest cheerleader, who I come home to every day and gives me a hug no matter how stressful the job is. And then my leadership. So my CO, he trusts me. He trusts my judgment. So without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So it's them who deserve this. So thank you very much. I truly appreciate it.
The next recipient is from the U.S. Coast Guard Reserve, boatswain mate, second class, Grant Larson. He's with the U.S. Coast Guard station in Duluth, and he's a coxswain and boarding team members director. Post 71 of Duluth nominated him, and he just got a promotion in his job. He's now, those of you from Brainerd, you got a new cop on the street, so be careful when you go home at night from that Legion meeting, will you? Anyway, mentioning his military schooling, his basic training, obviously, the boatswain mate, A School, Youngstown, Virginia. Awards, he's a Coast Guard Achievement Medal, Coast Guard Meritorious Service, and Coast Guard Good Conduct Medal. He got those because he's the 4th year in his reserve assignment. Civilian education is, this name comes up again, Anoka High School, graduate associate in law enforcement from the Fond du Lac Tribal Community College. He has a bachelor's degree in biology for University of Minnesota Duluth. He's involved in his community with a fire department volunteer for several years, trained in emergency medical responder training. He is now, as I mentioned, employed just recently as the police department in Brainerd. His senior enlisted officer says, Grant has an amazing ability to be able to sustain at being his best attitude, which has a positive impact on others. Few measure up to the caliber of Grant's sound judgment, integrity, reliability, communications, and organizational skills. And we congratulate him for these activities. And he is not with us today because his unit is on the firing range today, tomorrow. I said, you're a cop now, you know how to use the short line. But anyway, instead, we'll ask that the guy that runs everything in 8th District, and also the commander of Post 71, which this young man is a member of, will take instead Commander William Swanson. Now you're allowed to make a half-hour speech since you're a substitute.
Well, I'm not going to make a half-hour speech because there's no reason for that, but we're glad to support the Coast Guard and their efforts up there at Duluth. We have the active cutter up there, which will break up some ice if it's thin enough. We're glad to support them and encourage all the gentlemen that are working with that and support these people in the efforts that they do there. We congratulate him on this award.
You guys haven't run out of awards yet, have you? No. You're still going, all right. The next person to be honored is our Army Reservist, Staff Sergeant Christopher Rosenthal, who belongs to the 372nd Support Maintenance Company in Arden Hills. He resides in Sauk Rapids, and he was sponsored by Post 548 U of M Post. His assigned duties is the power generation equipment repair NCO and supervisor. His military schooling, of course, basic training, and He's a power man. It says power generator, engineer, equipment repair. Awards and decorations. He has received the Global War and Terrorism Service Medal, the Iraq Campaign Medal, Overseas Service Medal, among other things that he wears. Education and employment. He's a graduate of Wasika High School. He has a bachelor's degree in Earth and Geographic Information Sciences, and he's employed by Excel Energy in St. Cloud. Duties are to design facilities for new and existing customers to provide cost-efficient service. He's an active person in his community, and you notice that there is one other person in St. Cloud. We got two outstanding people that came in from Sauk Rapids. You guys know each other? No. You don't? Big city, I think there's about, well, it's near metropolitan St. Cloud, that's why. Anyway, congratulations to Staff Sergeant Christopher Rosenthal for representing the U.S. Army Reserve as an outstanding member of that unit.
Thank you everybody for having me here. I'm honored, as people before me have said, honored and humbled for this acceptance of this award. Being in for the time I've been in, 15 years, I've been in front of a lot of people. This is probably the most I've been in front of. It's always hard to get in front of people and say some things, but we'll do our best. We always do. That's what we do as commissioned officers, not commissioned officers. We do our best in front of our soldiers, and that's how we set the example. And by doing our best, we expect the best out of our soldiers. If we can't do our best, we won't expect that out of our soldiers. So by being up here, it kind of represents that, being the best of the best of our branch in service, doing our duty as volunteer service members. This isn't a full-time job, so we still have to do it, even though we have other responsibilities on our plate. And I'd like to thank the Post for nominating me, my girlfriend here for being here today, supporting me, and everyone here for your service as well. Thank you.
A little envelope in the bag, so look for it. We got one left. I thought it usually stayed, but anyway, the Air Force Reserve, Tech Sergeant Matthew Reuter is with the 27th Aerial Post Squadron, the 934th Air Force Reserve Lift Wing at Fort Snelling. As Post 100 St. Charles was a nominator of it out of 1st District, and he resides in Winona. His assigned duties is the ATOC Aerial Port Squadron, as a U.S. Air Force Security Specialist. School training, well, he had basic training, I suspected that. But Security Specialist in Tech School. He's a Transportation Proficiency Center School graduate. And Association and Transportation Management is another course he took. His awards, there are a dozen awards here, and but reading a couple of them are Global War on Terrorism and Deployment to Kandahar, Afghanistan. Civilian education, he's from Alaska High School Diploma. Now that's in Wisconsin, way across the border. Okay. He has a BS degree in Geography, University of Wisconsin La Crosse, Teacher Education Program at St. Mary's University of Winona. He has a master's degree in Methods of Instruction at St. Mary's. This one item here that's kind of special to Tech Sergeant Matthew. special initiative project, he led a special project to legislation for public school teachers activated and deployed. Tech Sergeant Ryder helped change Minnesota State Statute of 471.975 so teachers who are reserve or guard members do not have to pay for student substitute teachers while deployed. He got assistance from the Teacher Education Association, his associates, and he went to the top, to the governor of Minnesota, in getting the law changed, which has been changed. And essentially what happened is that he went on active duty a few years ago. He came back, the difference that he paid, he had to pay back for the substitute teacher that while he was gone. He owed the school $13,000 for defending our country. I mean, he paid to do that. That's a heck of a law. Well, it got changed, and due to his initiative, it did get changed. So, getting part on the line class teachers, how to identify issues in children and deploy with military members. He started a corner in the local public school, public library I should say, dedicated to military, filled with books about military. It was also a recording station to send recording at that time to active duty people that were activated. There are several other things that Sergeant Ryder did, but we congratulate him for the things he had done as a volunteer, as a U.S. Air Force Reserve performer, and in the meantime he's teaching 3rd grade in Winona Public Schools. Congratulations to Sergeant Matthew Ryder.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be here and giving me the opportunity to receive this award. I'd like to thank Glenn for putting me in for this award, and Sherry Weaver, a former colleague. They got together and did this. I'd like to thank Jennifer for coming up here with me and supporting me throughout my time when I am in the military. And of course my children, they're the ones that miss out on a lot of things, and I miss out on them when I am deployed. Thank you, Becky, for coming up. She's in the unit with me. My commander is currently deployed. My interim commander lives 8 hours away. My first sergeant, he's down at an FBI conference, so he couldn't make it. So Becky drove 1 hour and 45 minutes to come and support me. It's an honor to receive this award, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you and all the things that you have done. You know, another person I'd like to thank is the governor of Minnesota. And like you said, the governor of Minnesota is the one that helped me get that law passed. When I found out that I had to pay for my sub, I was a little irritated and a little broke. And so I went and talked to a lot of elected officials, and I didn't get very far. And I sent a Christmas card to the governor, and he liked that card, and he called me up. I got a meeting with him, and he's the one that spearheaded it and made it happen. They went back and forth between between the different sides of the aisle about 32 times before it was changed. The nice thing to know is it's going to help not only me again, but for my next deployment, and there are 2 other teachers in my unit that are deploying with me, and they won't have to worry about paying for their stuff. So, once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's an honor to receive this award.
What do you think? Do we have a good group of choices for several people in uniform. We appreciate the support that you give to our nominees, and we expect some more next year. Every one of your districts now does have at least 5 armories in your district. And there are 10 districts. Even if you got 1, or 2, we would have a good choice again of selecting these people. They're out there, folks. They're in their midst. They're your neighbors. They're your colleagues. They're your sons and daughters. And they deserve the honor that we bestow on We have a short presentation to make at this time. One of the several efforts of the national security outstanding enlisted was one of the top ones. We also have another, I call them the youth group. Most of you guys out there aren't these your youth? Maybe they are. The other one is the Civil Air Patrol. The Civil Air Patrol has about 700 juniors and about 700 or 750 older folks that are former Air Force, Air Force veterans are still serving in the CAP. We do have the recruiting and retention officer from that unit, Lieutenant Swanson, and have you got a word of plea? We got one of those guys in our organization that's on recruiting and retention, and he's leaning on us. What do you do in your organization? Lieutenant Swanson.
Thank you, Curtis. Good afternoon, good morning, American Legion, and yes, I'm Lieutenant Dennis Swanson with Civil Air Patrol, and again, recruiting retention officer, so you know, I invite people to come join our organization and help us out as well. So as he mentioned, we have about 700 youth in Minnesota. We've got just 800 or so in of the adult members who help lead our program. We just eclipsed 1,500 this week, so it's I don't know how long it's been since we've been below 1,500, but this is a great number for us, and we're looking to grow even more. You know, Civil Air Patrol is one of the youth programs, one of the organizations that the American Legion helps us to sponsor at various levels with scholarships, and some units across the country actually have help from the American Legion there. So, so we've got outside today, I've got a booth here with some literature about Civil Air Patrol, and for the folks that have their youth, I was talking about some of the fun activities that we do. We've got youth crafts and things like that, so if you brought your youth, come on over and we'll build a paper rocket. Most of Civil Air Patrol is, the education is aerospace themed, and so we're a great opportunity for you to bring your youngsters into Civil Air Patrol. We'll teach them how to fly airplanes, okay? So between, starting at age 12, a youth can join our organization, and they age out of the cadet program at 21. So between those years, we'll teach them how to fly, get their pilot's license if they want. So, and the Civil Air Patrol flight instructors are obligated to donate their instruction time, so that cuts about 40% of the cost of getting a pilot's license for youth. We don't have the same opportunity for teaching adults how to become pilots, but if you want to fly in the back of the airplane and be a spotter for some of the activities that we do, we'll teach you how to go up there and enjoy the countryside and maybe look for targets, or, you know, in a real mission it would be damage or whatever happens. So your Civil Air Patrol flies missions, and we've spent thousands of hours in the air above the aftermath of the hurricanes this last couple of years. In Minnesota, it would typically be flooding or tornado aftermath. Sometimes we're out looking for a downed aircraft or a lost hiker. But these are the types of things that we look for volunteers, and many of the folks are just like yourselves. I spent 33 years in the reserve component, so I applaud all of our nominees, our awardees for the reservist and guard awards for all the things that they do with the service. But the opportunity exists for individuals like yourself to work with your organization, perhaps to bring a Civil Air Patrol unit into your neighborhood. Maybe there's already one there where you can help out. Talk to me about that. We are looking for the opportunity to mentor the youth coming in behind us, and you know, instill patriotism in them as well. One of the things that one of the programs that Civil Air Patrol has is for educators. Just curious, how many people here were ever school teachers or youth group programs or something like that? All right, I see a few hands. Okay, Civil Air Patrol has a program for educators to help them. It offers curriculum and STEM kits, and also gives you an airplane ride in our Civil Air Patrol aircraft for orientation too. So I've got information about that out at the table, and so stop by and see me during the break or after the program or when you get a chance. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, I hope you enjoy listening to these young folks, and certainly we support, as you mentioned, scholarships to Civil Air Patrol each year from American Legion. So we do support several youth groups, and certainly thank the commander and our past department commander, Jim, for passing out all those awards. You've done a good job. You passed out a lot of stuff. But it only happens once every 100 years, so you did a good job. I don't expect you to do it the next 100 years, so thank you now for your job well done. Henry?
To reiterate what Kurt just said, thank you very much for being here, your attention to these awardees. They are some of Minnesota's best. We have every right to be proud of them and them of themselves. Let's give them one more hand. This time you're able to be dismissed, so thank you again for coming today. We do have a retired Marine here that Scott wants to put in a word for him. This is one of the first times in many years we were able to have a Marine be recognized, so.
Johnny, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to share a few words to the leadership, to the COs, to the senior staff NCOs that are in the room. Thank you for being engaged with this program and recommending your younger hard chargers to this program for recognition. It's hard being in Minnesota. We don't have a base to draw from. We have reserve units, we have a recruiting command. It becomes difficult because I understand where you're at. I've been in those spots. I spent 13 years on recruiting duty. And if you go to a recruiting major and you say, "Sir, will you recommend somebody?" He says, "No, my Marines are on the street, they're recruiting." And that's for just about any command, whether it's reserves, some kind of support unit, because they're smaller units. We're here in almost a garrison setting, but in a civilian community. And it becomes hard to take the time away from that group to come to something like this. So my thanks to the senior leadership, the CO that's here today, and those staff NCOs for taking the time to properly recognize your young hard chargers and to take the time out of your busy schedule on independent duty here in Minnesota to come to an event like this. Thank you very much.
And yes, they are all, as of today, thanks to our membership director, Mr. Maxa, they are all American Legion members.
Commander, we'll continue with your exciting fall conference. Thank you for the privilege of serving as chairman.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Jim.